Hey everyone, Summit Herakli here. Let's jump right in. Today, we're unpacking a really crucial topic for anyone living and breathing internal auditing, governance, risk management, and internal controls. We are going to explore the intricate, almost symbiotic relationship between our primary defenses and our backup safety nets. Or in our world, key controls and compensating controls.
Okay, let's dive into this. We've got a complete roadmap for our journey today, detailing exactly how to secure our business processes. We aren't just looking at isolated facts here. We're exploring a complete, interconnected system of risk management. By the time we wrap up, you'll see exactly how all of these pieces fit perfectly together like a giant puzzle.
Here is our exact 6-step agenda for this explainer. 1. Defining our control types. 2. Comparing the two controls. 3. Applications and practical examples. 4. The internal auditor's role. 5. Key considerations and benefits. And 6. The ultimate key takeaway. Let's not waste another second.
Section 1. Defining our control types.
Key controls versus compensating controls. By definition, key controls are essential controls addressing significant risks, while compensating controls are alternative controls reducing risk to an acceptable level when key controls are missing or ineffective. Think about this in highly practical terms, like securing a physical bank vault. Your key control is that massive, impenetrable steel door, right? It is designed specifically to stop a robbery right there at the source. But what if that vault door's locking mechanism is temporarily broken? Well, that's where your compensating controls step in. The motion sensors, the 24-hour armed security guards, the high-definition security cameras, they act as alternative controls that bring the risk of theft right back down to a level management can actually accept.
Number 1. Key controls. What are they? Well, they are absolutely critical to prevent or detect material misstatements or fraud. We're not talking about simple, nice-to-have administrative checks here. These map directly to the high-impact, high-likelihood, significant risks identified by the organization. And I really want to emphasize this heavily. Failure of a key control increases the risk to an unacceptable level. If that primary defense breaks down, your organization is literally left entirely exposed to severe financial or operational damage. Number 2, compensating controls. What are they? These act as our essential backup plans. Compensating controls are alternative controls that help achieve the same objective when key controls are absent or ineffective. Notice that we aren't changing our goal, which is mitigating the risk, we're just changing our route to get there. They help reduce risk to an acceptable level through other means. So they might require a bit more manual effort or span multiple departments, but they successfully pull that risk back to a safe zone when your primary systems fail.
Section 2. Comparing the two controls.
Number 3. Key differences. Now, what's really interesting about this is how these two mechanisms fundamentally contrast in practice. Key controls address risks directly. They are essential to design, and failure leads to high risk. They attack a risk right at the transaction level, like stopping a bad invoice dead in its tracks. Compensating controls, however, address risks indirectly, are used when key controls are missing or weak, and reduce risk to acceptable levels. So it might not stop that bad invoice initially, but catching it later during a manager's variance review manages the fallout perfectly.
Number 4, comparison at a glance. Let's break this down meticulously, aspect by aspect. For a purpose, key controls prevent or detect material misstatements or fraud at the source. Compensating controls compensate for absence or weakness of key controls. For nature, key controls are direct, primary, and critical. Compensating controls are alternate, indirect, and supportive. Looking at reliability, key controls have a high impact on risk reduction. Compensating controls may be less direct, need strong design and monitoring. For implementation, key controls are built in as part of normal process. Compensating controls are often across different processes or at higher levels. And finally, for an example, a key control is a three-way match and purchase process. A compensating control is a stronger view by management plus detailed exception reporting. So you can see, a built-in automated process is fundamentally different from a higher-level human review.
Section 3. Applications and practical examples.
Number 5. When compensating controls can be used. First, when a key control cannot be implemented due to system or process limitations. Say you have an older legacy IT system that physically cannot perform a specific automated check. Next, when risk is mitigated through other strong controls. And finally, when properly designed and operating effectively. You can't just slap an arbitrary manual checklist onto a broken process and call it a day. It has to actually work.
Number 6, example, purchase process. Let's move to and see how this builds in the real world. Imagine our key control three-way match checking. The PO, GRN, and invoice is missing due to a system limitation.
Here are the compensating steps implemented. 1. Independent review of supplier statements monthly. 2. Exception report for price and quantity variances. 3. Management review of high-value purchases. 4. Vendor confirmations on a periodic basis. Individually, these aren't as foolproof as a system match, but collectively, they weave a tight net that effectively prevents vendor fraud or overpayment.
Section 4. The Internal Auditor's Role.
Number 7. Role of Internal Auditor. Our job begins when we identify key controls for significant risks. Then, we evaluate the design and operating effectiveness of key controls. But here's the pivot. When key controls are missing or weak, evaluate the design and effectiveness of compensating controls. We carry the heavy responsibility to determine if compensating controls reduce risk to an acceptable level. We have to test, definitively, if that alternative safety net actually drops the risk back into a safe zone.
Section 5. Key considerations and benefits.
Number 8. Key considerations. So the crucial point is this. Compensating controls should not be used as a substitute for weak control design. You can't use these as an excuse for lazy initial architecture. They should be independent, effective, and sustainable. Because they are often indirect, more than one compensating control may be required. And of course, regular monitoring is essential. They demand constant vigilance to make sure they haven't degraded over time.
Number 9. Benefits. Why do we go through all this effort? Well, it ensures risks are addressed even if key controls are not available. It provides flexibility in the control environment, and it helps maintain effective internal control and governance. It basically keeps the business moving securely, proving that you're resilient even when the primary systems fail.
Section 6. The ultimate key takeaway. Number 10. Key takeaway. Key controls are the front line of defense against risks. Compensating controls act as a safety net when key controls are missing or weak. A strong control environment uses both effectively to achieve the right level of assurance. You absolutely need the heavily armored front line, and you need that intricately woven safety net. So that brings us to the end of our deep dive today. I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. Are your organization's safety nets truly strong enough to catch a falling process? It's a great time to take a hard look at your own control environments. Thank you so much for joining me, Same Heracli, for this explanator. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you in the next one.